Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Kind of a messy day in Maine. It's cloudy, snowing, sleeting. Roads are very slick out there. Looks like a lot of people are just not going anywhere. They're just staying in today. It's not like we're getting a lot of accumulation though. It's probably about 2 inches on the ground, but with the sleet on top of it, that's gonna make things more slick. So, but they're out there plowing and stuff, and so I guess by tomorrow, the roads should be more drivable than they are right now. So, what's going on today? Well, from the Republicans, they still have no budget proposal. Okay, and I got a video here from Couch Politics, and they're going to talk about how the AP has been banned from the White House because they won't acknowledge the name change in the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And Trump's like, well, then you guys can't come have, you can't do press conferences here. We don't want you here. Okay, which the AP is taking to court because it's a violation of the First Amendment. So let's look at this video here, and we'll come back.
Who's being hysterical?
Both of you. Trump doesn't need, first of all, AP.
You obviously don't know what a hysterical and a Navarro is like. No, I really would rather you not refer to me as hysterical for expressing an opinion. I think that's incredibly disrespectful. I don't do it to you.
What? Doesn't this feel like a really weird, wokeism thing on the right? Like, it feels like the right's version of, Latinx or... Okay,
are those the next outlets
to be punished? I believe that there's 2 genders, and then Biden tells me that there's 73. I don't comply with that.
Yeah, but Biden
what
truth do you care about?
I care about the American truth.
After NPR and PBS, they're going after NBC, Universal, and Comcast over their corporate practices around DEI. What
false information? If to not call it what
they can call it.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this panel. These MAGA pundits are just getting, I swear, they're getting dumber and dumber. Check this out, and we'll talk about it.
For an administration that claims to champion free speech, it is certainly a fan of silencing people. For the second straight day, the Associated Press is the largest news organization in the world, and it now has been banned from the White House and from the Oval Office over the AP's refusal to adopt Trump's preferred name for the Gulf of Mexico.
I was very upfront in my briefing on day one that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is.
Says the person who talked about $50 billion worth of condoms in Gaza, but that is neither here nor there. Brian Stelter is with us, also with us, Emily Austin.
Emily Austin, dumbass, believed that too.
Look, this is putting aside her points about lies being told in the briefing room.
Right.
There's some really interesting questions happening here about whether the White House can compel news organizations to talk about things in a particular way.
This is a power play, plain and simple. The president wants people to obey. He wants people to use the words he chooses. He wants people to fall in line, and if they don't, they lose their access. They're not allowed to be in the company of the president. Notably, in the last 2 days, when the AP reporters have been blocked, in one case, I'm told physically blocked from entering the Oval Office, The photographer was still allowed in, the AP photographer, right? Because the president still wants his photo
Wants the
taken.
pictures, just
he wants
not
the
the
pictures,
words.
but not the words. This is a First Amendment violation, and I expect in the next few days the AP will file suit. And they have a very strong case in court. This is yet another example where the courts will be the recourse for presidential action.
Brian, what are the other media outlets doing?
Right now,
Yeah.
they're
White House
still showing up, they're still asking
Correspondents' Association's
questions,
put out a
but that's
statement.
right, the Correspondents Association has condemned this and called it unacceptable. I think you're suggesting maybe reporters should, what, skip the briefing?
Should band together, because, I
Skip
mean,
the,
listen,
Q&As?
if the bully manages to bully one, he's not going to stop at one.
I don't think this is as emotional as you're making it out to be. You know, take away the hysteria for a moment. First off, Trump doesn't need
Who's
AP
being
to
hysterical?
Take, both of you. Trump doesn't need, first of all, AP
You
to
obviously
take his
don't know what a
photographs.
hysterical Anna Navarro is
I
like.
just believe it comes down to compliance.
That's true,
Trump put out an executive order. There was an executive order. He changed the name legally to Gulf of America. They're United States-based. I know they're international as well, but right now they're covering U.S. politics. So if he makes an executive order, they should respect that. And if they don't, being there is not a right, it's a privilege.
So
It's
I'm
not
just
like
gonna,
the
I'm
First
gonna add in
Amendment.
here, though, this has been called the Gulf of Mexico for 400 years, and
Yeah.
every other nation calls it the Gulf of Mexico. So just
they're-
because Trump
they're
claims that
operating
we
out of
need
the
to...
United States.
Okay, but doesn't this feel like a really weird, like, wokeism thing on the right? Like, it feels like the right's version of, like, Latinx or, like, birthing person. It just
Well,
feels like a
we
really
had to
weird
comply
hill
with
to
that.
die on. that
Nobody,
we're gonna,
by the way, just to be
we're
clear,
gonna force
nobody.
And guys, that used to be Trump's communication director. I don't know if she's an independent now or still Republican. Yeah, she's right. As a Hispanic, Latino, I've never heard anyone use Latinx. I don't give a shit about it. If you're a type of person like, oh my God, you call me Latinx, I'm going to vote for Trump. I think you're an absolute moron. But Emily Austin, guys, let me tell you something about her. I've seen her online a couple times. She truly has a hand-countable amount of brain cells. And I hate to be so mean. I'm not this kind of person. She's just one of these right-wing, just complete conspiracy theorist nut jobs. And I don't know if she really believes this stuff. I just know that they get rich off morons that do believe this stuff. It's all about the views. The crazier thing you say about the other side, the crazier the conspiracy, Jewish bait slaves or whatever it is, $50 billion in condoms, it's red meat for them.
Had
outlets
to
to cover it.
comply with any of that.
Yeah, if the
I don't think I've
Biden,
ever
if the
said the words
Biden
birthing
administration did that,
And if they did,
people
I
would be
think
up in arms.
your heads would be exploding at this table.
Maybe
If someone said to
they
you,
should
you've got to
call it
refer to people as
they should
birthing
adopt
people.
the Prince method. Just have a little symbol called the Gulf, formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico, which should now be called whatever the hell.
But there's a much broader,
The Gulf of whatever the hell he wants.
there's a much broader danger. Today it's the Gulf of
Emily Austin doesn't even know that Anna Navarro is mocking it. She's like, no, we should seriously do this. Why not call it the Gulf of Trump? These idiots would agree with it. These MAGA pundits will agree with it. The Gulf of the orange races. I prefer that one. What if Biden decided to do that? We're going to call this the Gulf of racist Trump. He signed an executive order. He can do it. You guys are so stupid. Can't understand why Trump is called a fascist. Just because somebody won't call it what he wants to call it. 400 years it's been called this. And because they won't call it the stupid nonsense that he's saying it, he's barring them from reporting? No, Trump is not a fascist. He's not a fascist at all. Guys, you know J.D. Vance, Trump's ex-wife that he switched them over for Elon Musk. Remember that guy? He called Trump a Hitler. He called him a fascist because he saw these kinds of tendencies. Dumbasses. And once he saw that he could get a chance at becoming a vice president, he threw all those morals out the window. And now he's defending races that are making fun of his own kid's race, his own wife's race.
Mexico or the Gulf of America. Tomorrow, what is it? The president says there's only two genders in this world. We all know transgender people. What happens when the AP reports on transgender Americans? What happens when CNN or ABC or the New York Times?
Okay,
Are those the next
what if
outlets to
I
be
believe
punished?
that there's 2 genders and then Biden tells me that there's 73? I don't comply with that.
Yeah, but
The Biden
Biden
administration isn't
banning-
barring Fox News from covering press
Right,
conferences.
he's not going to ban you from
And Trump
coming into
hasn't
the
done
White
that
House
yet.
because
This
you
is
have a
what I mean
different
about
belief.
the
Well,
area.
for the last 2 days, though, the AP has been blocked from attending events that it's
They will not
intended for
comply with the
decades.
executive
No,
order.
I really would,
you
would
want the
rather you
president to do that?
not refer to me
To ban AP?
as hysterical for expressing an opinion. I think that's incredibly disrespectful. I don't do it to you.
Why do you think the AP won't just call it the Gulf of America? I mean,
That's
the
petty to
president
me.
does
let me
rename
just-
things. We rename what's the mountain, Denali, Mount McKinley.
Let me
So
let me
pathetic.
read
From time to
let me
time.
read their explanation for why they are not doing it. Essentially, they are saying that the Trump's order only carries authority within the United States. Mexico, as well as other countries and international bodies, do not have to recognize that name change. The Gulf of Mexico has carried that name for 400 years. As was said at the table, and the Associated Press is going to refer to it by its original name, while acknowledging that Trump has a new name that he would like to call it. They are an international organization. No one except Trump with a pen has said that it's the Gulf of America. It's a body of water that also has borders with another country, and it's been named that for 400 years.
I know, but we have a lawful process in this country for changing the name of it. The president went through it with the Secretary of the Interior, by the way. I mean, it
And it's
feels
also
a little
different. Can I
feels
just answer your Denali question? The Denali thing is actually different because that's a place that's in the United States proper. It exists in
But we
the,
changed
in
the name
this
of it. The
country.
point is we changed the name
we
of it.
have the ability
It
to
does
change
happen.
the name. It's
And
Mount
so-
McKinley. It's Mount McKinley.
But we also have the ability to change this body of water. I think, look, this smacks to me of a news organization looking for a way to pick a fight with Donald Trump over something that they don't need to pick a fight over.
Exactly.
A. B.
It's petty.
B. He is the president,
wait,
and there
wait,
is a
wait.
lawful process that he
Scott,
did follow to do it.
The news
and so
organization
why
did
won't
not
they just
pick a fight
respect
with
that?
Donald Trump over this. Donald Trump picked a fight with
No,
the news
no,
organization.
they're not calling
over
it by the name.
No,
That's the
the
fight.
news organization can do whatever they want. If they want to call it the Gulf of South America, they can call it
But
that.
why would I
Donald
respect a
Trump
news
doesn't-
organization that
Yeah,
doesn't deal in reality?
but
You don't
actually
have to.
But
information
Scott,
if to not
Scott,
call it what
they
it
can
is.
call it whatever they want because there's free speech in this country. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, but that, in my opinion, if you're not willing to call something by the proper name based on the laws of the United States, that calls into question your judgment. And are you a news organization,
by the way,
or are you
there
just
are no laws in play here. It's an executive order,
but-
and the body of water is not
Okay.
named by the United States. It's named
Sure
by
it is.
global organizations that name global landmarks.
Would it
That's
be-
not. It's not their law.
So you don't.
Guys, you have to understand. I know this is not that important, right? Who cares about the name of it? But it just shows. One of the main reasons I have this channel is to show the character of the Republican Party. Scott Jennings and the one with countable brain cells, Emily Austin, they'll defend anything. They're forced to. You have to understand this. It's probably eating him up inside that he even has to defend this nonsense. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he's a cultist. But the point is that they're so weak. They're so weak about getting spanked by their daddy. Guys, Byron Donald called him daddy. These people are out of their effing mind. And they're willing to capitulate. They're so weak and they care only about their careers and about their pockets being lined up that they're willing to lie to everyone. And we're the crazy ones because we don't want to join in on the cult. MAGA, at some point you gotta look at what this is. You're being effing played. They think you're fools.
You don't respect Donald Trump's executive order or the Secretary of the Interior's process on this either. then.
Donald Trump had an executive order, but the Associated Press is not bound by it.
Scott,
That's
what
the
if
bottom line.
the
Well,
Biden
that's their
administration
choice.
did this though similarly? What if the Biden administration was barring, say, a Fox News because they weren't going along with an executive order where Biden said you must refer to every single transgender person as they,
Listen,
them, or whatever
I
it
think
was?
I think if you
would
want to
you
engage in a...
would you be supportive of that then?
Yeah,
I think
no,
that
no.
it gets really dangerous when we start forcing terminology on people. I didn't like it when the left did it with things like Latinx, birthing person,
Okay,
you
these
name
things
it.
are
But-
not in any way,
but
shape, or form
no,
related.
they're
B,
remotely
the Biden
similar.
administration treated...
The Democrats never barred someone for you not using a word. That's the difference, Scott. Guys, this is all just about Trump trying to control the media. And Republicans, why do you think he wants to control the media? Because he's going to do things that you're not going to like. And he doesn't want you to know about it. can't you see this?
The press as poorly as any president has ever treated them, gave them less access, answered no questions, no transparency at any given time. Donald Trump's answered more questions in 3 weeks than Joe Biden answered in 4 years. Elon Musk answered more than
and also a lot of the answers.
Come on, Brian. This
hang
administration is giving the most access to the press they could possibly
just
want.
to be clear, it's also changing the subject, and we're not changing the subject.
But you're asking about transparency.
No,
Can the news be covered?
Actually,
And
we're
yes,
talking
it's being
about
covered.
the First Amendment. Freedom of speech.
Is he being
The
covered?
AP will win in
That's what we're
court.
talking
Look, the AP is
about.
going to win in court. If they go to court, the AP will win, just as CNN won in 2018 when a press credential was revoked. We're going to see the courts speak out on behalf of the First Amendment here.
I'm with Scott here that if he changes the name to the Gulf of America, whether they like it or not, them not calling it that, they are based out of the U.S. I get that they're an international organization. It's simply they're not reporting on the truth. So now if you're the president, you can argue they're not reporting on the truth.
But Emily, wouldn't
so why
you
are they
agree that
qualified
the
to be
truth is
here?
also that the rest of the world calls it the Gulf of Mexico?
Technically, every other country would change the name of it too in their own country, then the journalists should comply with whatever their country
but
wants
Emily,
to call
wouldn't
it.
you agree that the truth is also that every other country in the world calls it the Gulf of Mexico?
That's fine, but Donald Trump put an executive order to
which
change
truth
it.
do you care about?
I care about the American truth.
Okay,
So
okay.
the
So let's
American
just be
truth
clear
is that
about
Trump
that.
changed
You
the
only
name.
care about
So
the
US
version of
journalists-
truth that Donald Trump
I believe
says is
This
true.
feels like a really
US
weird hill to die
journalists-
on and something to get quite hysterical over. It feels like it's actually ridiculous.
It is weird.
that
I
this
think
is
it's
a-
It's the
pathetic.
opposite of a hill.
Why is he
Brian,
dying on this hill?
Hang on a second, Brian.
I agree. We have bigger
guys,
things to
I
focus
I do
on.
want to
Above
talk
and
about
beyond.
one very important thing. Speaking of treatment of the media, the
Like, you don't see how pathetic that is? Like, again, they'll defend anything. They won't. They won't talk back to the D leader. Because he's going to spank them.
FCC is going after media companies.
Yes.
They're going after NPR and PBS. They're going after NBC, Universal, and Comcast over their corporate practices around DEI. What authority do they have to
The
do
FCC has never done this under Republicans or Democrats before. The current FCC chair appointed by Trump wants to be different, wants to do things differently. That's what he's doing. But this all smacks of an attempt to pressure every major media company in the U.S. except for Fox News. In terms of
Which, by
license
the way,
holders,
until
all the others are under pressure
maybe
right
two
now.
or 3 weeks ago, also had DEI practices as part of their
Yes, it did.
corporate governance.
Yes, it did. We
Because
talked
they're
about-
a private corporation,
And it can do what it wants.
and it can do it.
Republicans back out there. Did you hear that? Fox had DEI. Do you understand why they did? It's not because it was losing the money. You morons, you're getting played. They did it because the study showed that it's more profitable to have diversity within your company. Are you starting to see how you're being played? How they're constantly using DEI in a disgusting, racist way. 9 out of 10 times, they're using it as a racial slur. Or at least some form of bigoted slur. 9 out of 10 times, they're talking about black people. And it's disgusting. But at the same time, using those same programs because they know that it's profitable. Do you not see how you're being tricked? And guess who else is doing this stuff to you? All the YouTubers you're following. They know the facts on this. They just know that you have anger and hate in your heart. And they play on that. They get views on that. Wake up.
But at once, except maybe not. I mean, are we okay with the government telling corporations how they can govern themselves?
There's nothing less conservative than that, and less of a Republican value than that. I mean, Republicans used to be for small government and for the private sector governing themselves, and we are for less regulation, supposedly. And so I see it so opposed to all of the things that we grew up believing.
So you're saying we should do away with the FCC?
No, I'm not saying we should do away with the FCC.
Is that the conservative view?
I'm saying that no government agency
Anna, I'm
should
going
be
to stop
telling.
this conversation right there because I think it's so.
I mean, we're in
it
the
is
mood right now. I'm just
Scott,
telling
it's
you.
in such bad faith for you to take what she just said
Well, I'm asking.
and then say you want to get rid of the FCC.
No, she said we
That's
should
not-
have less regulations.
That's
This
not
is a
at all-
regulatory
but that's
agency. What
not-
are they supposed to do?
That's not at all what she said.
She said they
your
shouldn't-
answer
she
to
said
her
they shouldn't be
question?
so active.
What's your answer to her question about whether the FCC
I don't
should
know.
be
I truthfully
dabbling in
don't know.
Comcast and NBC Universal and saying this is how you need to run your corporation?
Well, I mean, I think these public broadcasters, I mean, they do have these licenses because it's the public airwaves, and that's the reason the regulatory agency exists. So, you know, that's the way it's always worked. I truthfully don't know what the right answer here is. This is a more muscular look at these. Trump obviously and his people feel that some of these people have run amok with their with the privilege of having these licenses. So I don't know what the answer is.
I love when you say that. All I know right now, you said slippery slope earlier. We are slipping. Like we're 3 weeks in and we are slipping.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine and dandy when your guy is in charge, but when the other party is in charge.
Scott, punk ass. You know what the answer is. That's why you wouldn't say, I don't know. It's kind of a muscular thought to have. What the hell are you talking about? Of course it's insane to try to force companies to get rid of programs that they have within their companies. Clearly it's a problem. Guys, Trump is literally forcing companies to be less profitable by getting rid of DEI. Guys, DEI has shown to have benefited white women the most. This is incredible. It's incredible how stupid he is. White women overwhelmingly voted for Trump.
Okay, so power play? Yeah. Trump's doing a power play. What he's trying to do, just like this DEI thing here that he's been using to sort of attack corporations. He's also, doing executive orders over the stupid name change in the Gulf, and this is, basically him trying to control the press. And as it was said, why would he want to do that? Well, maybe because he plans on doing something later on down the road that he's going to shut the press out completely if they don't spin the lie that he tells them to spin. You know what I'm saying? So, in other words, if they're not going to report what he dubs as his truth, and they decide to, and they want to report the real truth, then they're going to be like, that's it, barred. And that probably explains a lot as to why the press has been so light-handed on him after these last 2-3 weeks as president. And why, everybody's been bitching. Why won't they go after him when he's been breaking laws and violating the Constitution all this time? It's because, I think the press understands that, hey, if we do anything to come out, he's just going to shut us off, And I'm like, well, so what? I mean, if it's like you want to go and listen to him lie to you and report that, or would you rather not report what he says because, he closes the door on you? What do you think is more productive here? Reporting lies or, reporting what is? Even if you can't get the president. I mean, he needs the press at some point to spread his shit. Fox News will be there, okay, clearly. But when it comes to, getting anything useful out of him, he's not going to be forthcoming. We ought to know that by now. So the press being barred, the AP being barred from reporting anything he says is like, well, so what? He lies anyway, so what the hell are we losing? Nothing. Because why? If we are an organization that's supposed to feed people the truth about what's going on, then the last thing we want is to hear a pile of horse shit from this guy who's not going to answer anything, who's not going to come forward and be honest about anything. Why should there be any cameras at all? Really, ignore him. I think that would hurt his feelings a whole lot more than him trying to suppress, knowledge of what's going on in the White House, okay? If nobody's reporting or giving him camera time, he's going to be feeling, oh, nobody wants to hear me anymore. He ain't got no audience to talk to. I don't think he could survive that. No, he needs to have the press. Okay, he might be able to shut out a few of these agencies, but, as long as there's one or two out there that are willing to report all his lies, okay, he's happy. But if they all got together and said, fine, if you ban one, you're banning us all, and nobody's ever going to go to any of your press conferences, we're not going to televise any of your speeches, that's it. We're going to close you out just as hard. Okay, we'll get our information from the politicians that he has to work with and talk to. That's who we'll get our stuff from. But in the meantime, you won't see any of us. I think he'd get really pissed about that because, hey, he started it, and now, I think the press ought to pick up that baton and finish it. You want to shut us out? Fine. We'll shut you out. But like I said, you can always depend on Fox to televise the lies because, hey, that's what they do. That's how they make their money. That's their bread and butter, lies. But this is whole ridiculous. I mean, you saw in the video, CNN is at each other's throats here. And this is exactly what Trump wants. He wants the press in a fucking whirlwind right now, arguing and fighting. And for them to be fighting over something as trivial as the name of the Gulf is really representative of the things that Trump wants to see. This is how he destroys the media, by having them destroy themselves. And honestly, giving this story, so much attention. I mean, you saw the fighting that was going on. It's getting more than it needs. I mean, it's ridiculous. Who cares? The rest of the world's going to call it the Gulf of Mexico, whether Trump likes it or not, okay? His executive order only happens in the United States, okay? And even then, okay, people don't have to be told how to call that thing. You're going to have half the country calling it the Gulf of Mexico and the other half of the country calling it the Gulf of America, okay? Okay, so what? We can't decide on what to name it. But the thing of it is that Trump started this, and, there's a reason for that. And part of it is, like I said, to get everybody talking about this and getting focused on this. In the meantime, they're out there raiding the Treasury. They're out there breaking laws, getting people's private information, while they're all focused on this ridiculous name here for a body of water here. And that, I think that is a big red flag. And and I'm surprised the media, it just keeps falling for it. They took a whole panel show to focus on discussing that. And you saw the dickweeds here in that fucking panel just going at it, okay? And instead of focusing on the more important things like where is the government going to get the money they need to do all these tax cuts here they want to do, which is of concern, I think, to more people than the Gulf of Mexico and all that. But, it really is crazy, how easy the media can be distracted. And when they're distracted, the rest of the countries are distracted too. And you see, that's the failure of the press, is that what he did should only get about maybe a minute and a half of conversation, if that. And I doubt it would be worthy of a 60 Minutes episode. Okay. Certainly more. It's not as important as, say, airplanes crashing and fires burning on the West Coast and things like that. Okay, because everyone's going to call that body of water in the Gulf whatever they want to call it. Okay, and so what Trump's executive order, which is really just a piece of crap that nobody's going to care about. I know Google's already changed it to the Gulf of America, so I guess Google is in his pocket. But it's like, the rest of the world is not going to call it that, Trump. And, if the American people want to be arrogant enough to follow what Trump says, that's up to them. But, it's the rest of the world's laughing their ass off at us because they think we're out of our loving minds. And, hey, they got every right to think that as far as I'm concerned, because I think we are. I think this country is suffering from a major lack of intelligence here. And unfortunately, stupid gets its way too often in our world. And unfortunately, we have a lot of stupid people who have a lot of clout thanks to Donald Trump now, because he leveled the playing field so that way the dumb can play in what was once a board game only for the intelligent. And now we've invited the stupid into the game. And guess what? The game doesn't play the same anymore now, because, they want to move the pieces on the board any way they want, and they don't want to lose. They'll cheat to win. So that's what we got here for a government now. So, okay, let's go to a commercial break then, and then we'll come back with our second video.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
It's not the same here in the USA. Every day it seems we're losing our way. On Fox News they tell me all the jobs have gone to people with names like Shaniqua or LaShawn. I'm a white boy and I am not qualified, so I wanted to blame DEI. Wanted to blame DEI. Sometimes I speak and you won't like what I say. I might call a kid retarded or point out that he's gay. That once would get a chuckle, but thanks to the woke mob, despite the First Amendment, I get fired from my job. I'm a white boy and I won't diversify, so I wanted to blame DEI. Wanted to blame DEI. Oh, that ain't right. Oh, shop at Costco if you have one nearby. If you want to support DEI. When the economy as well as planes begin to crash, we all saw the cause directly from positions that he slashed. But the MAGA propaganda played out just the way he planned, using their diversity, equity, inclusion boogeyman. It's that orange guy, evil that's personified. He wanted to blame DEI. That bullshit just won't fly. He wanted, blame DEI. Detoxify. Don't blame DEI. That orange guy, his bullshit won't fly. Blame DEI. Blame DEI. Blame DEI. Blame
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. All right. So, the second half here of our show is a video from Rebel HQ. They're going to break down this video that AOC put out, trying to explain to people what's going on this year about the tax cuts for the rich, and tries to give us a little more of a different look to the reasons why this is happening, and in case you've forgotten, how it started, she wants to remind people as to what's happening. So let's go listen to the video, and then we'll come back and talk about that.
AOC recently took to social media to try and help explain the government chaos many people are seeing.
I want you all, one of the important lenses that I want you all to interpret all of this happening through is through a very important deadline that is happening in the federal government. And once you understand this, you will understand, and all of this chaos is going to start making sense, okay? Something very big is happening this year. And it's part of the structure around which all of this chaos is occurring. Because why is Elon Musk raiding the Treasury? Why are they suspending federal funding? This goes beyond being a Democrat or a Republican. This is anarchy. This is just taking all this stuff over. So why at the core are we doing this? In addition to just sheer hatred, because as we see, Elon Musk, maybe you can take the boy out of apartheid, but you can't take apartheid out of the boy, apparently. He's out here doing Nazi salutes, so whatever. But in addition to a white supremacist, whatever it is that they want to do, let's talk about, you always comes down to follow the money. There is a very important deadline that is happening this year. In 2017, Donald Trump and the Republican Party forced through one of the largest tax giveaways to the rich in modern American history. This was in 2017. We are talking about grotesque levels of tax cuts that they issued at that time. We're talking about CEOs and people being able to them proposing tax cuts on like tax write-offs on yachts and private jets, but most importantly, some of the most broad-based tax cuts for the rich and the 1% in this country that we have ever seen. That happened in 2017. So why is that important to today? Those tax cuts had a sunset period, and that sunset period occurs in 2025. 2025. So now we're here. And right now, what is happening is that all of these tax cuts that billionaires and millionaires have been just getting high off the hog on over the last couple of years are now about to run dry if they do not reauthorize them, if they do not extend them, and not only if they do not extend them, but ideally they want to add to them. Massive tax cuts for some of the largest corporations that exist in America and in the world. And so they have a massive thing at stake. So right now, their task is to extend these tax cuts. And what Elon Musk wants is for these tax cuts to not only be extended, but to apply to him in a larger way than ever before so that he can amass even more money than ever before.
I agree completely with AOC. The reason why you're seeing anarchy by Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and so many others who think like them, in addition to white supremacy and hate, is because of money. Follow the money. Remember, we live in a capitalistic society where so many in our country want to make much more money at the expense of others having to pay more in taxes so that they can be grossly wealthy and rich. We're talking about the 1%ers, okay? We're talking about the billionaires and the millionaires.
The problem with extending, they have a little wrinkle in extending some of these massive structural giveaways to the wealthiest people in this country. And the problem is that they have to pay for it. They have to pay for it. These tax cuts are to the tune, the cost of these tax cuts are to the tune of about $4 trillion. $4 trillion. And so if the US federal government is about to, if these tax cuts for the wealthiest people are going to expire this year, and if those tax cuts are set to expire, and in order to extend them, you need to find $4 trillion, well, where do you look? Because historically, in this country, when you need to pay for something, you pay for it with taxes. And other small, other kind of alternative forms of revenue sources as well. I need to simplify, but I want to oversimplify. And especially when it comes to some of the core, most important systems, healthcare, education, etc., we have had a system where we tax progressively. Now, not in principle, not in terms of the political progressivism principle, but what it means is that the more money you make, the more you get taxed, quote unquote. We know that that's not how it works in practice, but in theory, that's how it should work, right? A billionaire should pay more in taxes than a secretary. And historically, not just billionaires, but also mass corporations, etc. That's how we keep the lights on. That's how we keep Medicare, Medicaid, the VA, at public schools, like it's through taxes. So if these tax cuts are going to cost $4 trillion and the government, and you're by definition not going to tax anyone else, well, not going to tax the rich in order to pay for it, then how are you going to pay and square that circle? There's two ways that you do that. One is that you tax the poor and you tax the working class and you tax the middle class. You raise taxes on that, which, by the way, they are proposing. I think if you make less than $300,000 or $350,000-ish $1,000, your taxes will be going up. And actually, the further below that number you make, the more your taxes are going to go up by. So, sorry, that keeps happening. So, if you're making $28,000, they want you to be paying way more in taxes, especially proportionately, than if you're making $150,000. But they are proposing all of our taxes to go up. That's one way. But guess what? That's not going to that doesn't make up the difference. It may make up a small bit, but it doesn't make up the difference. $4 trillion, you are not going to make that by taxing people who make $28,000 a year a little bit more. Doesn't make it up. Math doesn't square.
It makes perfect sense why Elon Musk is raiding the Treasury Department and he's got all this access as a special government employee. That's the term that Trump gave him. Because they're trying to get more. The rich are trying to get richer, okay? They are greedier than ever before. And because of that bill that Donald Trump signed into law that in 2017 that would disproportionately give tax cuts to the rich and the wealthy, because some of those tax cuts are going to expire in 2025 right now at the end of the year, well, you got to find a way for people to pay for that. You know what I'm saying? You have to find a way. And how do you do that? As she points out, one way is you tax the lower class and the middle class that much more. So the people who are lower on the hierarchy in terms of what they're paid in this country, they are paying more in their taxes than individuals who are in the 1%, who are billionaires, who are millionaires, right? So that's part of how you find this $4 trillion that it's going to cost over 10 years, according to experts, to make it permanent for these individuals to get these gross tax cuts, while everybody else, they suffer more and more. Their quality of life goes down. It's not rocket science. Again, so much of what we're seeing in this country, and just in general, comes down to capitalism and people wanting to exploit the poor, the marginalized communities. They know exactly what they're doing.
First of all, they tell you all of these stories about waste and government waste and DOGE and whatever. First and foremost, understand that there is already a federal agency who is a watchdog on waste in the United States. That is known as the Government Accountability Office. So all of these people acting like, oh, we're going to set up an agency to identify waste, as though that's never been an idea before, take a number. These people, and I can tell you, in my experience, I have encountered many billionaires in my career. You all have seen many of those encounters in hearings, in other, forms of questioning, etc. I can tell you that this dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed. Which, you can probably even glean that from watching these people on TV. Anyways, all of that is to say is that they don't do their homework. Clearly, they're putting 19-year-olds in at the Treasury. This dude is not smart. And the danger in the lack of intelligence and the lack of expertise that Elon has. I mean, this guy is one of the most morally vacant, but also just least knowledgeable about these systems that we really know of. But the point is that what that means is that they're going to hit a button inevitably. They are going to hit a button and things can go sideways. We already saw that last week when they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna freeze everything. That sounds so cool, let's do that. They hit the freeze button and then Medicaid portals across the United States got suspended through that EO. And they tried to make up for it and be like, oh, that has nothing to do with all of it. Really? You're gonna freeze all federal programs and then the Medicaid portal suspended and you think people are gonna think that's not connected? I mean, I know they think people are stupid, but it's like genuinely just be so for real right now. Anyways, so what they're trying to do is that under the guise of waste, they are going to try to cut and gut some of the most essential federal programs that we've got. In fact, how do we know this? Because the Republican majority and their budget had a sensitive internal document that got leaked a couple of weeks ago. And I can tell you that I read through it. And they identified bit by bit everything from the mortgage interest tax deduction to, which I raised a couple of weeks ago, to Medicaid itself. They have identified as wanting to eliminate in order to pay for Elon Musk's tax breaks, Jeff Bezos's tax breaks, Mark Zuckerberg's tax breaks, and other giveaways and other sorts of giveaways to the wealthiest people and corporations in this country.
The point is, when you eliminate all these federal programs, right, and funding for them, then that money that you need to pay for the tax cuts, all of a sudden, it's there, right? And you can live the way you want to live, even though you're an evil human being. But when you eliminate, they talk about they want to eliminate waste. Taking away federal programs will help do that. It's not waste when it comes to what's actually important. You're actually wasting away so many good agencies that are going to help millions of people in America, right, who depend on these programs, but it's going to help them live the way they want to. And it's just sick. It's not shocking whatsoever, but a lot of things in this country, y'all, comes down to money, comes down to greed. And they said, look, we want to extend these tax cuts permanently, or we'll find a way. We will do whatever is possible to make sure the rich and wealthy get their tax breaks, and that the people who are less fortunate, the people who are less financially rich, you're going to suffer. Your lives are going to be miserable while we live in absurd wealth that is so beyond me. Why anybody would want to do that. But again, there are a lot of bad people in this world. And now the bad people have power in ways that we haven't seen before. It's not new that people want to operate in this manner, but because of who's in charge, it's a different playing field. And there are much more serious consequences as opposed to when it was just people on the street who wanted to live a certain way, right? Or wanted to exploit the average American. For Rebel HQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.
All right, so the 2017 tax cuts, they're the big ones that Trump made back then. They're going to expire this year, at the end of the year, I guess. And that explains why, probably why Trump won in the first place, is that the rich in this country knew that those tax cuts were going to expire, and they were afraid that Kamala Harris being in the White House, she would make sure that that wasn't going to be renewed, okay? Which I think most people wanted to see happen. But the rich got panicky, and they pushed him into the White House, okay? And now it kind of gives you a motive to people saying, well, the Trump campaign somehow, manipulated maybe the election in some states, just so that way it would give him a decided edge over Kamala. Who knows? I mean, that when the rich want their money, I mean, that's a big motivation there, isn't it? I mean, they don't want to take the chance that all that big money they got in 2017 is just going to just dry up and go away and go back into the pockets of the government that need it to fund these programs. No, You see, they don't believe in the government, okay? They don't believe in the government, even though they want the government to dictate to companies about hiring people, that are trans or whatever. They don't seem to see the contradiction in what they believe about big government, when it's okay for big government to tell corporations how they can hire people. It's like, okay, well, which is it? You don't want big government, or you want big government? Maybe it's just they just don't want certain people getting their way. They want government to be there to limit certain people from achieving anything in this country. They want to punish people. Okay, that's what they want government for, to be the bludgeon for the racists, the misogynists, the bigots. They want to weaponize the government to go after the population, to whip them in line, as it were. But they certainly don't want government getting involved in business. No. But if you're gay, if you're black, if you're Hispanic or whatever, you can expect the government to constantly be on your doorstep, trying to, control you in some fucking way. And I think that's really the truth about MAGA and what they intend the government to be, because it certainly isn't about, we want a small government. No, they don't. They want government, okay, but they want government to be something different than what we need it for. Okay, I think that's the real, the truth there to that, is that it's not really about, government doing, control over the corporations to keep them in line. So to get, these things, this money, this $4 trillion, not only are they going to have to raise taxes, on the middle and low income earners in this country, they're going to have to cut programs, because that's a big chunk of dough there. They're talking about taking, $4 trillion. Jesus Christ. I mean, like AOC said, that, raising taxes on the poor, that's not going to get all of it, okay? That's probably not even going to get a third of what they need. So they're going to be putting everything on the table, all those things that we depend on in this country. They're going to put all of that on the table, which in some cases means some people, their lives, and I'm not talking about their livelihoods, I'm talking about their lives literally, are going to be on the line, because some people need these programs to stay alive, especially the healthcare one, Medicare. You cut into those programs, you're going to be putting more people at risk to die. Okay, now, in Trump's first presidency, he put a lot of people's lives in danger, over 1 million, remember? Okay, apparently that had no bearing on him. He wants to do it again, okay? No, the last time he put 1 million people in this country in the grave, because he lied to the whole country about COVID. He got everybody thinking it was a hoax. He got everybody thinking, you know, these safety procedures that people needed to exercise out in public to protect themselves from were bullshit. He went after Dr. Fauci, okay, and tried to demonize him for telling people how to protect themselves, okay? It made it so bad that President Biden had to pardon Fauci for no goddamn reason but just to protect him from Trump, who he knew was going to go after him, okay? And that's what you got here. We brought that bastard back so he could put our lives in danger once again. And who benefits from us being killed? The wealthy. Really, because what fewer of us out there sucking off the funds that the rich think rightly belongs to them, hey, that's good news for them, right? They get more of the money. So, hey, you know, they're out there getting ready to, I mean, not only are they deporting immigrants, but they're going to start sacrificing Americans now, okay, on the altar of the rich. I can't think of a worse crime than what they're doing right now, okay? There ain't a one of them. If there's an afterlife, if there's a God, there's not a one of them that's going to have a chair in heaven next to God after this. Not one, okay? These people better enjoy the living while they're here, because after that, it is pay city, you know, in hell. And nobody's going to have any forgiveness for them. And even in their own Bible, they know just what, you know, all about that, okay? The rest of us, you know, in the Bible will have it good, but you know, for those who spent their whole time on earth just raping, pillaging, killing, doing shit like that, no place for you there. You gave up your soul for that, for just you know, a few decades on earth. You're gonna condemn your entire soul, your eternity, to living hell. So, you know, that's what's in store for them. Now, you know, like they said, the people who earn less than $350,000, at least that's the number they're floating right now, the taxes will go up. And the less you make, the proportion of that tax increase is going to increase on you. You'll notice it, because the less you make, you know, the taxes are going to hurt all the more. So, you know, the rich, the poor in this country are the ones actually paying for their own protection, okay? What I mean by they're paying for their Social Security, they're paying for Medicare, Medicaid, they're paying for the VA benefits, they're paying. The rich don't want to give in to any of that. So whenever a rich person comes out and says they're, you know, they're for the working class or they're for the veterans, don't believe that for a minute, because they'll be the first ones there to take away from these folks if money went right into their pockets, okay? Forget that. But these people don't give two shits about that, because when your back is turned, they're behind you looking to cut what you're getting, all right? And, you know, like I said, it's sad that this is the kind of country we have, but it's also a good example for the rest of the world never to let your corporations run away with you, okay? Don't give them an inch, you know, to these countries that have companies in there, okay? Don't give them benefits. Don't give them protection. Don't give them tax cuts, okay? Don't do that, because this is what happens in the end of the day. You know, your government becomes weak, and before you know it, the corporations are sitting in your government, okay? And then now they're controlling everything else that they've always wanted, which they knew they were going to get with Trump, okay? Despite all the bitching and complaining they were saying beforehand about, well, Trump's not being very clear on what he wants to do, they still wanted him in there because they knew he was going to get renew those tax cuts from 2017, okay? That was as tempting as shit is to a fly. There was no way these people were going to see him lose that election, okay? I mean, you could take what I just said there, you know, as far as you want. I'm not saying there was a conspiracy or that there was election tampering, but that's a big, juicy fucking motivation right there to tempt people to do the wrong thing, okay? So if there was any election tampering to give Trump the edge, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised, because you're talking trillions of fucking dollars going back into the hands of billionaires and trillionaires out there who have companies, and they would love to get that money back. Okay, they think they deserve it. They think they're entitled to it, even though that money wasn't parted out for them. Okay, that's for us. Their taxes come to the country at large. It don't belong in the hands of just a certain group of people. It belongs to everybody. Okay, and because a certain group of people think that they're being hit the hardest with taxes, which they're not, by the way, because they got more money than they'll ever spend in 10 lifetimes, and they're bitching because, oh, I gotta pay, this percentage this year, Well, you know what? Your great-grandfathers had to pay way more in taxes than you do, and they were living as high on the hog as you are now. So, don't give me that shit. The rich are always living good, even with a 90% tax percentage, okay? But now they pay less than, what, 20 or something like that, and they're still bitching? Come on. No, they're bragging about huge profits on Wall Street. Big fucking, the most historic levels of profits, and at the same time they're crying poverty. They want welfare, corporate welfare. It's like, you guys, maybe you need to look at where you're spending. If you really are that close to being broke, then maybe you're spending too damn much money. Maybe maybe you don't have people who do the books very well, or try to lay down the truth about, hey, you're spending too much. This is an uncertain market. Maybe we need to back off on the spending a little bit here. Maybe you guys aren't listening to your accountants and your financial advisors. You ever think of that? You're obviously, the more you get, the more you spend. That's a habit for anybody in any income bracket, even from the poor. The more money you give somebody, the more they're going to spend. So imagine going from the low end of that truism all the way to the top end, and think about how much money are the rich spending with all the money they get. It would probably knock you off your fucking ass. To think about all the frivolous spending that they do. It's not a wonder they feel like, they can't pay the taxes, because they blew it all on 50 yachts and all these cars and 10 homes in each country. They're just buy. And then they bitch when they ain't got any money left at the end of the year because they've been spending it all the time. Maybe they need to think about that. It's not the poor people that are sucking money out of you. It's you sucking money out of yourself in big fucking clumps. Okay? Maybe that's what you got to do. Control your spending. Get rid of some of your assets so you won't have to pay so much to maintain them. Jesus Christ. You guys are buying up everything. There's hardly a home left out there to buy because you guys are buying them all the property and converting them into apartments and shit. That costs money because every year you got to put into that. Even though you don't want to, you still have to. Otherwise, those places get condemned. So you guys are just playing around with your money so goddamn much that you're leaving nothing, for yourself to enjoy. You just feel like you're broke all the time. That's kind of the way most of America felt during the 80s, when people were spending with their credit cards like there was no tomorrow. And then when the bill came due, I can't pay that. The interest is too high. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have spent so goddamn much on it. That's what was going on during the 80s. That's why we crashed the fucking economy by the time we hit the 90s. Okay? That's the reason why. It's because we were out of control spenders back then. And that mentality persists with people who have a lot of money. They're out of control spenders, and they cannot pay the bill when it comes due. So whenever we talk about tax cuts, let's raise it on the poor. We'll get more money so we can pay down our deficits and shit. That's not our fault. Okay? Whose fault is it that keeps raising the fucking deficit in this country? Is it the poor? Is it the middle class? Who does that? All right? Think about that. Who influences the budgets in this country? Okay, because I don't think we have much say in that. You know, these things are all decided by people who have more than we do. Okay, they decide all these things. Our voices are really not paid much attention to. We're the ones that they're looking to cut on, not to give to. Okay. And I feel like while we're sitting here looking at this this issue about taxes, you know, the 2017 tax cut that's going to expire, at the same time you got Elon Musk in the Treasury Department raiding the goddamn thing with his 6 cronies there that he had with him that from college, wherever the hell they came from. Who he still hasn't handed over the data he collected. Most people believe that he's probably made copies of that data that he's got in some form or other. So even if he did give it back, it wouldn't matter, because if he's got copies, then, you know, we're never going to know. So the damage is done. You know, and it's funny is because if you watch YouTube, okay, there's this commercial that keeps coming up about how to protect your private, you know, your accounts and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, boy, Jesus, too bad they couldn't have protected people from Elon Musk, because, you know, this commercial is sitting there talking about, you know, there was this great big hack or something of all these account numbers last year, and trillions were stolen. And I'm thinking, boy, you're talking about Elon Musk. So who's got a fucking program out there to protect us against that, you know, from people inside our own government stealing our own goddamn money, and they're blatantly doing it in the open, and nobody's out there with police arresting this fucker when he walked out. Okay? What good is protecting your own fucking personal accounts if the government is also out there hacking and stealing your information? Okay? Nobody is safe, my friends. Nobody. Everybody's accounts are up for grabs. He's probably got everybody's stuff now. I mean, I don't know what to think. You know, it probably doesn't take that long if you've got a good enough computer to make a big copy of everything and just transfer that to someone's computer in an office building somewhere. Okay, I mean, it's that simple. I feel like, you know, all these programs they got out there to make you feel safe, to spend your money using your credit card online, those days are gone now, because now our own government has gotten in on the fucking crime. Okay? Musk is out there at the behest of Donald Trump. He's out there taking everybody's information. You know, let that try to sleep tonight thinking about that. Okay? I'm telling you right now, the old ways we did things is much safer than they are today. Okay, when we didn't have credit cards, when we didn't have all these numerous bank accounts and you know, and the way we do things today, it's so much easier now to just rip people off. It's so much easier now to get people's money out of their accounts and stuff. Way more easy. I mean, you physically don't have to go to a bank and get people's money. You can do it right at home. Okay? I don't know how else to explain it, except that we're all walking around naked in this fucking world now, because we have no protection. Even from people who say we have protection for you, that protection doesn't last very long, because as soon as it's being used, they already know how to get around it. So people, like I said, the old days were the better days, okay, when we did things the old-fashioned way. You know, we write checks out, put it in the mail, send it out. Okay, we need to go back to that, because what we're doing now is we're setting up a system where a criminal can be a criminal from anywhere in the world, okay, and get away with the crime, because it will go over the heads of most people, because they won't understand how it happened. Even law enforcement today is like 40 years behind the times. They don't understand a lot of this shit, okay? So, you know, like I said, if you're living in another country, you hack into something in the United States, how are they going to find you? Oh, especially if they know how to cover their tracks. It's too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. Okay? You've got no reason to feel like whatever you're spending a monthly fee on to protect your act, that's even going to be a guarantee. Okay, let me tell you that right now. They've already found a way to get past that fucking little chip on your credit card you got. They've already figured out how to get around that. Okay, so that right there is a waste of money. All right, I would just say, look, if you can pay in cash, you know, for most things that you buy, then do that. The less you use your credit card, the better. But I wouldn't leave a whole lot of amount of money on it if I was you. Especially if you're using a debit card. Don't put a big chunk of money on it at any given time, because numbers like that can be taken. Only put on it what you need. If you're going to be buying something online, just put pretty much all you want on it, so you can get that thing online that you want, and then keep the money off of it. You know what I'm saying? Just don't leave anything on it ever. Because that's what I do basically. I have a debit card, but I only put exactly what I need on that card for each month to pay my streaming services, and then once they get their money, that's it. There's like what a couple of bucks left in there, sitting in there. Okay, so if that goes missing, I don't give a shit. Okay, and then I can just dump the card. But that's how I do it. I don't put anything out there for people to cry, because I don't trust the system. I don't trust it. Okay, technology changes too fast, and there's nobody smart enough to completely protect you electronically, digitally, whatever, you know, from these damn these pirates out there. All right, so that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for any health-related issues. And be a community, help each other out, watch each other's backs, and just be careful out there. So I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.